what do you feel is important factors, I guess, to build robustness and athletes that can not only perform a really high level on a weekly basis, but do it over longevity, sustainable, long period?
Yeah, I suppose the quality of their work in training, their consistency, their desire to always improve. It was quite interesting that, after a training session, you'd look out onto the field to see who were the players that were doing extra work, and it was always Smith, Cronk, Slater that were leading the way and doing extra, so they were never satisfied with how they were travelling. They were always looking to improve and work on the finer details, and their execution and everything they did was top-notch. And they set a great example to the rest of the squad, the rest of the teams, how preparation should be done.
And what about the evolution of strength and conditioning? What were some more common practices early days when you were starting out? And then how did it evolve over the last sort of 15, 20 years? What have been the biggest changes that you've noticed?
I suppose the biggest change has just been the accountability and the access to data and information that we now have, like GPS data. We've got data from the gym in terms of measuring bar speed and that sort of stuff. So in the early days, back in 2003, when I first started at Melbourne, we didn't have GPS units. That was just something that was starting to come in. So just the accountability and the access to data and information on your players has really gone through the roof. And I think in some ways, some people get caught up too much with the numbers side of it with today's technology. So there's still got to be room for that gut feel and data coaching. And I think that's what the early strength conditioning coaches had, is that feel for where their players are at, because they didn't have that information available to them that's available now.
And being aware of having that winning formula, even if you're not winning, or bringing that to the environment. What are some of the things that staff can do to help facilitate that from an energy perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question. I suppose sometimes changing the environment can be what they need, changing the stimulus, changing the gym session around, a change of scenery can make all the difference. Trying to make training more fun. We know that they're all competitive players, so by introducing, fun games and skills games into the training session is a way of incorporating a bit more fun. So there's different ways, different stimuluses that can be used to stimulate your players during those tough training weeks when the season seems to be a long grind.
What do you think's harder to manage? A team that's got a bit of a roll on, but you're noticing, you're winning, but perhaps there's some complacency creeping in, or a team that's struggling to get the wins and they're trying their hardest. They're on a bit of an edge and they're doing everything they possibly can, but they're just not quite getting the results. But what's a harder group to manage, or are they just different?
They're different. I think a winning week's a good week, so you never ever begrudge the winning formula. But I think when you're in a team that's struggling to win, as they've had successive losses, that's when it can be pretty difficult, pretty challenging. Trying to keep upbeat, keep the morale high. And obviously, as a group of staff, it's important that we produce an environment which is not, as I said, so reactive to wins and losses, but to keep it consistent, keep it a healthy winning environment, even if you're not winning.
What have been the biggest challenges you've found over the years, and what did you sort of learn, or how did you grow from facing those challenges?
The biggest challenge is coordinating your work with the coaches and the head coach in particular, and linking into what his philosophies are and his thoughts on how the team wants to play, and then tailoring your training to meet those philosophies. Obviously, when you're losing, it's always a bit of a challenge that you ask yourself questions as to what you can do better. Are we working too hard? Are we not working hard enough? Are we fit enough? Are we strong enough in the gym? So you have all those doubts and questions coming in. And I think it's important that you probably don't get too caught up in the win-loss mentality, because you ride a bit of a roller coaster if you do that. So you've got to stick to your philosophies, win, lose or draw, and quickly move on from a win or a loss. because the next week can be the exact opposite in emotions. So you've got to ride the highs and the lows out and be consistent in what you do.